they'll catch, you know, or perhaps I think some of them look at me and my family and recognize that they may have the symptoms too, and it's frightening for them. It's nothing to be frightened of. I was listening to something the other day, and a very good analogy of this is this particular mental illness is similar to a cancer. It's something that can be put into remission through medication. Some of it may be cured, some of it may not be, but through treatment it can be maintained and it can go into remission, and that is the good part of it. And that was very comforting for me. But my friends, a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people don't want to understand it. I think it has the old cliche of mental illness and one flew over the cuckoo's nest, and it scares a lot of people. So, you know, I stick with those people who have an understanding. It's very frustrating for those who don't, but I've learned to accept their ignorance towards it. I hate to be so harsh with that, but it's just pretty much what it is.
Do you think your friends and family understand your mental illness? Give me 1 second. It's really kind of what you just said, but
No. No.
You don't think they understand you or the illness?
No.
What does that do? What happens?
Well, it's really severed our relationship, which is very sad, because I tried for years to get them to, but I think it frightens them. It upsets them with the medications I have to take. They don't understand that it's an illness. They don't like some of the side effects of the medications. Yet they don't like it when I don't take the medications, you know. They don't, you know, it scares them when I get into a depressed, you know, state. It scares them when I get into a manic state, you know. But yet they don't take the time to understand it or read the literature or even attend support groups that are there for families of, you know, family members with bipolar disorder. So they don't do that effort, you know. And for my own stability and mental health, and for, you know, me, I'm a single mother, my daughter, I have to do what's right for us, and I have to, you know, unfortunately just limit, you know, the relationship and not try to work so hard to get them to understand, because it's my mental well-being and stability is more important. So it's really put a hindrance on the family relationship.
Do you have a crisis plan for when you become manic or very depressed?
Yes. Well, immediately, you know, when I get either or, manic or depressed, I cook. I just cook. I go in the kitchen and I cook. And it's very therapeutic for me. If things will get more intense, I'll pick up the phone and call my friend and irritate him, work that out. If it gets even more intense, I'll call my doctor. The one time I had suicidal thoughts, I drove myself right to the hospital. So yes, I do.
And do you think, can you tell me a story about the day you were diagnosed?
Yes. The day I was diagnosed with bipolar, and I'd hate to admit this, but I was with the majority of, you know, the country we live in. I was very scared, very, you know, with that cliche of mental illness, it scared me. And I cried. But then I said, you know what, I have to accept this. I think as anyone does when they're sitting in a doctor's office, no matter what disease or disorder they're confronted with, and you accept it, you know, you're given the terms that God has given you, and you deal with it, and you fight it with everything you have. And you're gonna, you know, have some peak periods, you're gonna have some down periods, and it's with any illness, just as this is. It's any illness. This is comparable to anything, and you just keep up the strength in the battle, and you don't give up. But it scared me, and I cried, and, you know, my father's reaction, no one has a mental illness. You know, it's tough, and it scared me too, but it's a very understandable mental illness. It's just a lack of certain things within our brains, which can be supplemented by, you know, medications. So that's comforting. It's very comforting to me. You know, it's far more comforting than some of the illnesses that individuals face, you know, in our world. So it's not as bad as I initially thought it was.
And how do you feel about medications? Do they help you?
They help me, yes. They help me tremendously. Life without medications is not an option. You know, I went through the period where I thought I could do it, because you get to a point where you're on them and you feel better. And it is a burden, and you know, I think this morning it was like I was looking at him, I'm like, oh, I hate doing this, you know? And it is, you don't want to rely on the medications, but you have to. You cannot stop taking them, because like I mentioned before, you know, it's an imbalance within our brains, and the medications are a supplement for it. It's just like if you have a lack of B12 in your body or vitamin C, you know, you need to take that supplement. And when that supplement's not in there, that is when the trouble starts, you know, with the depression or the mania.
Can you talk about how stress affects you, either at work or at home, and what you do about stress?
Stress is definitely a catalyst for either the mania or the depression. When I was working, I had 2 breakdowns. I was in outside sales, account executive, real high pressure job, very successful, and had the burden of my family, my entire family underneath me, despite being a single mother. But it's definitely a catalyst, a trigger for my bipolar. I don't really know why, but it does trigger me. It's just, I never really figured that one out, but it is a trigger. And even now, I've learned to kick back and relax, try to relax, and not take everything so seriously. It took several years to be able to do that, because that just was not my personality. And, you know, even though people don't even think, I mean, compared to how I used to be years ago, this is very calm in comparison to when I was working 16 hours a day and just, you know, being a professional. But, you know, this is calm in comparison to that. So it is definitely a trigger. Stress triggers both the mania and the depression, because it just burns me out. It'll burn me right out and trigger one of the episodes.